About 10 years before Pirates of the Caribbean came out, I started reading and writing about these guys. And I can tell you, no one ever woke up and said, I think what I really want to be is a pirate, unless they were under 16 years old. Luckily for us, we can run away to be pirates in Civ 7 as the long line of rebel leaders keeps coming. The image most people have of pirates is of lawless criminals, and strictly speaking, that's only slightly an accurate description. And it depends on which pirates you're talking about. For our purposes, thinking of Blackbeard, Edward Teach in Civ 7, we're talking about the pirates of the Caribbean and the Americas from 1650 to 1730, roughly. They came from many nations, often escaped or taken from various Navy ships. The buccaneers were in rebellion against the Spanish. The privateers were mercenaries doing the bidding of competing governments. And this reminds me that the euphemism for becoming a pirate was to go on the account, a sign that capitalism and piracy were at least jokingly related. Some pirates were born out of mutinies. Some, like the ill-fated Captain Kidd, started out as pirate hunters, only to do so badly they turned to piracy. Actually, most pirates were ill-fated. Not many of their bios end with retired to country life. Although some, like Henry Every, did exactly that. He was a neighbor of Isaac Newton, for Pete's sake, after having the single biggest treasure prize haul in pirate history, only to die in poverty after being swindled. It seems there are pirates on land, too. And pirates often surprise us. Who knew that Edward Teach preferred intimidation to violence? Who knew that Bartholomew Roberts, not the dread pirate Roberts of The Princess Bride, kept a priest on board, not a unique practice, and had regular Sunday masses? Just in case you were thinking of playing the exploration age with the Republic of Pirates and had decided to ignore temples and missionaries, like I almost did. Who knew the Republic of Pirates, lasting from 1706 to 1718, was a thing, while the rumored pirate Utopia, Libertatia, was not? And who knew that many ships had strict rules about engaging the enemy, dividing the booty, and workmen's compensation for lost limbs? Still, pirates are often considered lawless, while their privateer lookalikes were secret government employees who raided the ships of other countries and were considered patriots. I guess they were the pirate version of the suits. The other thing that I keep forgetting is that successful pirates had to have a lot of focus, especially after antagonizing a variety of enemies. And that was something as a Civ player I've struggled with over the years. Too often I just like to be playing with only a vague goal in mind. I'm just here for the vibe. Call me the lazy pirate. But as I found out early on with Teach and the Republic of Pirates, I could have some fun attacking other ships, but I shouldn't lose sight of the larger prizes. But in my defense, I was a little bit giddy to have a real live pirate and complimentary Civ in the game. So let's take a closer look at both of them. Now, I've already looked at Edward Teach in the previous couple of videos, so let's just try and summarize this. He's a militaristic economic leader. He gives all his ships the pirate ability to cross borders, attack, and plunder non-allied units without making any declaration of war. Now, if his naval units defeat other naval units, they cough up gold that's a percentage of their combat power. And he gets to capture that unit. All of this is balanced out by having to pay higher gold maintenance on all his units. So, in essence, pirates, as we already knew, are always looking for gold. We just didn't know it was about, trying to make the monthly payments and everything. So, what about the Republic of Pirates? So this says, where there is wealth, there is greed. The scramble for New World riches in the early 18th century brought English, Spanish, French, and Dutch. Don't forget, did the Portuguese have, by then maybe they weren't quite into it. But the prospect of quick riches also brought pirates. These were rarely organized, but in 1706, one band, the Flying Gang, took over the island of New Providence in the Bahamas and set up a short-lived republic for all who sought fortune and came with few scruples. So, the unique ability of the Republic of Pirates is the Flying Gang. Increased yields from pillaging and coastal raiding with naval units. Don't forget the coastal raiding part. That's important. Settler units cannot be trained or purchased, but you can capture other civilizations' settlers. Naval units, treasure convoys, and buccaneer units can move into other civilizations' borders without being at war or having open borders agreements. So that's pretty good. The increased yields from pillaging and coastal raiding, that's great. I mean, that, dovetails nicely with everything that Teach offers. The settler units cannot be trained. That's a little off-putting at first. It takes some getting used to, but once you get your buccaneer units going and plopping down settlers, then they just become your commanders. Your buccaneers and your naval commanders, and so it's a little bit like the Roman legatus, actually, but not exactly like that. You can capture settlers. Oh yeah, and you can capture other settlers as well. I don't think I had the opportunity to do that. I came close a couple of times. Treasure convoys, yeah, you can capture all sorts of stuff, and you don't have to worry about being at war. Although, war will come often enough. The attributes, they're economic and militaristic, just like Teach. The civic trees. What I like about the civic trees is you have the articles sprinkled throughout here. And that's what you would find on a lot of these ships. Articles, seamen's articles that they would sign and agree to, put down their X. If you're going to be on this ship, you had to abide by certain rules. That's great. So Tier 1 unlocks the Naval Station Unique Building, the Press Gang's Tradition, yes. The Press Gangs increase production by a set percentage toward naval units for every fleet commander you have. So another reason why you want to get more fleet commanders. You want to settle more, and so you need more of them. And you also get a bonus for having more fleet commanders. Unlike, our games up to this point, where I think a lot of us have probably been avoiding getting fleet commanders, they're just not bothering. I've had some here and there, but it's not something I felt the need to have every game or anything. In Tier 2, the Buccaneers gain the looting promotion, which is handy, obviously. Ports of Call. Tier 1 unlocks the Naval Arsenal Unique Building, so that goes with your Naval Station Unique Building, and unlocks the Merry Life and a Short One Tradition. And the Merry Life and a Short One Tradition, you receive gold equal to the unit's production cost every time you defeat a support unit. Receive gold equal to a set percentage of the unit's production cost every time you defeat a naval unit. So again, feeding in nicely with Teach's bonuses for beating other naval units. Merry Life and a Short One. Tier 2, increased settlement limit. Thank goodness. And it unlocks the Havana Harbor Wonder. The Buccaneer Unique Commander Unit gains a charge to create a new settlement. Oh, can you create 2 settlements with the Buccaneer? I'm not sure about that. Or maybe that's where they first get a charge to create their 1 settlement. I think maybe that's it. I don't think they can create 2. I think they just create 1. But when you create a Buccaneer, you don't have automatically the ability to create a settlement. Again, like the legatus with the Romans. Enemy of all nations, Tier 1. Increase combat strength against treasure convoys, and it unlocks the Black Flag Tradition. And the Black Flag Tradition is increased gold from plundering trade routes by a set percentage. So you do want to have to go after trade ships, and you have to keep your eye out for them. I don't think I've been very good at that in my work with these guys to this point. I have not. I haven't snagged many trade ships. You really have to keep your eye out for them. I'm not a details person. I'm sorry. When you capture a treasure fleet unit, it is worth an additional treasure fleet point. Dang, I forgot about that. Okay, so definitely worth pursuing this. Now, the unique infrastructure. We have the Haven. It's the unique quarter, and we've seen the two parts of it introduced already here. You get increased gold for every treasure resource once you've. Oh, that's pretty good. Once you've completed the quarter. You have a friendly naval units and your naval units received increased healing on this tile. On this tile. Okay, so it's a port of call essentially if you're looking for healing. And then we have the naval arsenal. Must be built in a gold base, gain gold adjacency with resources, has no gold maintenance, which is good. And the naval station, coastal unit, of course. Production base gains production adjacency bonus with military buildings and gold buildings. Okay, so overall, that quarter I think is most useful when you've got it once you've got it together. I like that treasure resource benefit with the increased gold. But anyway, that's maybe just me. Unique civilian unit, the Buccaneer, and I've already spoken about him, or her, as the case might be. Unique commander unit gains a set number of charges to use the raiding party action every set number of promotions. So that's something the Buccaneer can also do, the raiding party action. The action raiding party targets an adjacent treasure resource. The settlement instantly spawns a treasure convoy under your control equal to the number of treasure resources. This does not reset until another treasure convoy is available. Wow, I forgot about this. I truly did forget about this. That's kind of a neat benefit. The Buccaneer, the more I read about the Buccaneer again, the more I like this unit. Better than the Legatus, actually. The unique military unit is the sloop. Replaces the privateer, can cross other civilizations' borders, pillage trade routes between non-allied civilizations, and attack units of non-allied civilizations without going to war. Can move after attacking and has a set amount of movement. Moving after attacking is always good. You like that, either to get away or to reposition yourself for another attack on something else. So the sloop is a pretty cool unit. I can guarantee you that. The Associated Wonder, the Havana Harbor, has a gold base. The settlement generates treasure convoys worth a set amount of treasure fleet points in the exploration age. The effect scales based on game speed. Okay. Increased economic attribute must be built in distant lands on coastal tiles adjacent to non-lake tiles. A little specific there, but still generating a set amount of treasure fleet points. That could be beneficial, especially if you get bottled in and you can't find a way to meet your treasure fleet requirements by finding the right settlements or making the right settlements. That can be difficult. Starting bias is coastal, and a little gameplay tip here. Since the Republic of Pirates are unable to train settlers, unlock the Ports of Call Civic. Yeah, we already saw that. To give the Buccaneer unique commander a charge to create a new town. And yeah, that's really essential. Like in antiquity, you want to lay down all your harbors, and in exploration, if you're playing through as one game, you definitely, as these guys, you definitely want to unlock your Buccaneers. So that's it for these guys. Let's see about our game setup. Okay, so as for his mementos, I went with his own mementos. A brace of pistols, which gives you +2 combat strength for naval units, and with figurehead of the Queen Anne's Revenge, his ship's name, defeating any naval unit grants gold equal to 25% of its combat strength. So lots of synergies going on there just with Teach himself. In the meantime, I decided to continue with the archipelago game I had with Tonga, And in that regard, I also went with sovereign level difficulty with the independent powers nerfed, essentially, made friendly at the beginning. And I think that's all of the setup. As you can see, I'd inherited a sizable navy for my adventures in Tonga, and there were going to have to be some reductions in force. There was only room for so many pirates. And like real life pirates, I had a budget to meet. It would have been a major drain to keep them all. Besides, with Blackbeard, I could make new pirates on the go. Call them contractors, except with equal benefits. It was clear early on that Ibn Battuta was going to be my main competition. He had virtually settled a wall along the coastal waters of the distant lands. But given that I had explored the distant lands reasonably well in antiquity with the scouts from Tonga, I could see where all the unclaimed independent powers were located. And given that I couldn't create new settlers until I had the Buccaneer unit and fully activated, I could settle the distant lands with an incorporated city-state or two. And that was as much as I planned out in advance. Was I going to go for a domination win or another economic legacy path? The latter was going to be difficult because I had no settlers to begin with, and therefore no way to tee up treasure fleets. Meanwhile, I'd had a pretty good showing in science and a surprisingly slight showing in culture. So should I continue in the tech direction? Ooh, another ship. Let's take it. Okay, I was a little distracted by the new abilities. But what was more distracting were the attacks on my ships by various opponents, all out of sight. You know, let me just take an aside here and mention that if I have one continued frustration with the game, it's that it doesn't snap to in enemy engagements in between your own turns and just puts up a little notification on the right, which I often miss. So I never saw most of the units I lost in this game being lost. Anyway, it seemed that I wasn't the only person with lawlessness on the brain. All in all, the scenario strongly resembled some of the real-world dynamic of the golden age of piracy. And, well, it only shows that you don't want to know how they got their golden age, right? Like I said earlier, I avoided temples and religion. I thought that might keep me too unfocused on the other legacy paths. But I was blocked in the east by too many settlements, and I was blocked in the west by simply being so far away from that ocean. Getting the economic win was going to be a pain, unless it was just impossible. And with each new loss of a ship, I was starting to regret my firing of the sea traffic controlling cogs I'd begun with. But there was at least a decent synergy between Blackbeard's abilities and those of the Pirate Republic. No more insistence on trade and diplomacy from the Tongans, but I still found myself befriending more than one city-state just to give myself openings in other parts of the map. I had plenty of battles with hostile city-states, but none with the other civs, oddly enough, even though the relationship sometimes declined after a slew of pirate privateer attacks. And this was even though I used almost no influence on deals with those other civs. I think I just eventually settled consistently far enough away from them. I'm not sure. But the battles with independent powers were fairly constant, unlike with the Tonga in antiquity, where I made more trade connections automatically with them. I gotta say, though, that the archipelago mapping is pretty decent. The weaving around looking for good places to settle was at least visually interesting. And if you think you're not built for seafaring in a Civ game, that's exactly what I thought. I have rarely chosen an archipelago map in previous Civ games. But maybe it was the encouragement of playing the pirate life, but I found this more engaging than I ever thought I would. And there ends my ad for the game, I guess. Sorry about that. The key to everything in the first stage is getting down your harbors to increase production. And then in the exploration age, if you're playing Teach and the Pirate Republic, getting your Buccaneer or Fleet Commander online. And you'll want a handful of those to drop down a settlement each. Combine that with incorporated city-states, and you'll get enough treasure fleets going. I think I was up to 7 by the end, although obviously it wasn't pretty. And you're going to lose more treasure fleets to hostiles and privateers now. So you probably want more settlements than you might have been used to for the economic win. All in all, it's a very different dynamic. You grow your fleet with Teach's ability, and you guide and strengthen your fleet with some buccaneers. By the way, your best settlement defense is going to be your ships. I mean, free ships is cheaper than production or gold spent on other ranged defenders. Although I still did that too, but never more than 1 defender per settlement. I mean, in an archipelago, everything is ship defensible. Let's face it, you're a pirate, it's an archipelago, you're only buying ships. You probably take a sloop just to get to the outhouse. As for differences between heavy and light vessels, I'll admit I didn't pay as much attention to that. Whatever ship was closest drew the assignment. But if I had to build something on the fly for a nearby engagement, I went with the type that fit best, although I'm still not confident in my ability to decide which that might be. Towards the end of the age, I was still neck and neck with Ibn for the legacy point lead, and I realized that it wasn't going to be about completing multiple paths, but just racking up some legacy points. So I guess you can say I found religion before the end to earn some cultural cred. As an obvious side note, I did not notice a shortage of gold for some reason. If you just move around and wag your sails, someone is going to come at you, and you're going to hopefully win unless you're up against someone's unique naval unit. And you're going to pocket some doubloons, the original cash and carry operation. Again, though, this is at sovereign level, but even at that, I wasn't able to get multiple legacy paths finished, just the economic. And I gotta say, sure, I squeaked through with a legacy points lead, but that didn't even matter in the end. This was the kind of game where it was just about the doing as much as the accomplishing. It was fun and challenging. I guess that's another ad. I don't know. Now, if I were a pirate, I'd come up with some fancy narrative to tie all of this together. But of course, their lives weren't all that fancy. I can say I came, I sailed, I got some gold and some land, and I took more ships down than I lost. That's a better narrative outcome than most of these guys ever knew. If you've liked what you've seen or heard, please drop a like or a subscribe down below. For now, until the next sea outing, this is Civilized Raccoon.